discover the incredible hidden lives of twin brothers, one a captain, the other a SEAL commander. In the heart of downtown Detroit, two boys rose from the tough streets, bound by blood but divided by dreams. Jake and Luke, twins who looked so alike, yet were as different as night and day. Their mother, a factory worker who toiled tirelessly to provide for them, instilled in them the value of hard work. Her sweat and sacrifices painted the backdrop for their lives, but they were colors often overshadowed by their own battles. Jake always felt the pull of the ocean. As a child, he built dream boats with scrap wood, imagining adventures beyond the pier. He wanted the Navy captain of a ship, the horizon his limit. His charming smile and leadership skills earned him respect. Luke, on the other hand, watched as Jake soared, his own dreams taking a darker turn. Becoming a Navy SEAL commander was his goal. Yet in Jake's shadow, feelings of inadequacy crept in, an uninvited guest gnawing at his heart. As boys, they played on the sidewalks, their laughter mingling with the sounds of sirens and distant trains. They were inseparable, charging through the alleys, conquering imaginary lands. But as they grew older, the sibling rivalry intensified. Jake's accolades were celebrated while Luke trailed behind, always second best in the eyes of the neighborhood. One could hear whispers of Jake's heroics echoing down the street, a hometown pride swelling, but Luke's silent bravery went unnoticed, a storm brewing beneath the calm facade. Their mother, pushing both to greatness, was oblivious to the growing chasm. She believed in their potential, but didn't he see the hurt in Luke's eyes? Didn't he sense his struggle for acknowledgement? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The tides turned unexpectedly one fateful day during a rescue mission that would change everything. Jake, the decorated captain, faced danger head-on. A miscalculation, a heart-stopping moment, and then chaos. He was injured, brought home like a broken doll, facing the bleak possibility of losing his Navy career, and with it, his identity. Luke, still in the shadows, felt a wave of emotions crash over him. Relief that his brother was alive, yet a burgeoning resentment. As family dinner conversations skewed toward Jake's recovery, the air thickened. Their mother's pride mingled with worry, her love stretched across both boys. It was in this fragmented time that deep-seated feelings spilled out. The secrets, the envy, the admiration tangled in a web of brotherhood. Luke stood at a crossroads, feeling the pressure rise. Could he find acceptance within himself and his brother's achievements? And Jake, stripped of his accolades, would he finally see the heroics in his twin? Storm clouds gathered over their relationship, but amidst the turmoil, hope flickered faintly. An unexpected ally, a family friend from their childhood, stepped in with wisdom that could bridge their divide. Together, could these brothers, a captain and a commander, unravel the ties that bound them, while overcoming their silent battles? In that question lay the heart of their uncharted journey, a chance to discover whether their family bond could withstand the trials ahead. The echoes of their hometown whispered loudest now, and redemption lingered just out of reach. Luke paced in the dim light of their shared childhood room, the walls lined with faded posters of ships and military heroes. The memories surged as he watched his brother, Jake, recovering in the bed that had not felt the weight of sibling competition in what felt like a lifetime. Jake's head was bandaged, his laughter muted, and Luke couldn't escape the mix of emotions swirling inside him. Should he feel sorry? Or was there jealousy lurking beneath the surface? "You should have seen it, Luke," Jake murmured, his voice low and strained. I thought I was going to lose everything. Those words stung. They twisted at Luke's heart, a reminder of how Jake had always been in the spotlight. Why didn't you ask for help? Luke shot back, the hurt pouring into his voice as if it were an old friend. You were invincible to everyone else, why not to me? Jake's eyes seemed to search for something. Perhaps forgiveness or understanding. I didn't want to worry you. I wanted to protect you from the chaos. From this, he gestured weakly around the room, indicating the ghosts of their childhood, the shared dreams that now felt so distant. Luke felt a swell of anger. But I wanted to be there, Jake. I wanted to help. You never gave me that chance. Silence fell between them, thick and uncomfortable. This silent battle of pride and insecurity had kept them apart far too long. Their mother knocked gently before entering, her eyes flickering between both boys, love struggling against worry. She brought a plate of food, her attempts feeling like a fragile bridge. I made your favorite, Jake, she said, her voice offering comfort. And I can't. Jake interrupted, his frustration spilling over. I can't be the captain anymore, Mom. The room fell heavy again, the air thickening with unspoken fears. A moment ticked by, filled with tension and trembling hopes. Luke's heart raced. Here they were, two brothers on the precipice of change, yet still stuck in their roles. What if, Luke whispered, what if we just tried to talk? Really talk? No titles or roles. Just us. Jake's eyes softened, a glimmer of vulnerability breaking through his warrior exterior. What do you mean? Let us drop the captain and the commander for a minute. Let us just be twins who grew up in Detroit, struggling to understand each other. A little honesty wouldn't hurt, right? Their mother's gaze flickered between them, her heart hopeful. A fresh start, boys. Luke took a breath, grounding himself. You know, I've always admired you. You were always the brave one. But sometimes I felt like I was chasing a ghost. As if nothing I did would ever measure up. Jake's face fell, shadows dancing across it. I never knew that. I thought you were just stronger than me. I wanted you to think I had it all figured out. The layers began peeling back, exposing raw emotions that had long been hidden. The brotherly bond, reeling yet yearning for connection, took center stage. We're more alike than either of us realized, Luke admitted, fresh tears brimming in his eyes. Different paths, same struggle. And just as a flicker of understanding crackled between them, Jake's phone vibrated on the nightstand, the sudden noise breaking the moment. They exchanged glances, uncertainty creeping back into the room. Who was calling? Could it be someone from the Navy? More bad news that could shift their fragile foundation? Jake took a moment, his breathing steadying as he reached for the phone. With every second stretching out, Luke found himself holding his breath, weighing the possibility of what lay ahead. In that moment, could they both step into the light together, or would this call pull them apart once again? With a firm grip, Jake answered the call, leaving both brothers poised at the brink of revelation or ruin. Jake squinted at the screen, the name flashing like an ominous signal. It was Captain Harris, his commanding officer, the man who had always pushed him to keep going, to be the best. The room fell silent as he brought the phone to his ear, every ounce of tension suspended in the air. "What is up, Captain?" Jake said, trying to sound steady, but his voice shook slightly. Luke leaned in, straining to hear every word. He could see the muscles in Jake's jaw tense, each syllable a weight dropping into the vast gulf that had formed between them. Captain Harris's voice crackled through, firm and authoritative. "There's an opportunity, Jake. I want you to be part of a specialized mission. We need your skills." Luke's heart sank. A mission? Just when Jake had barely escaped the last one, now another loomed ahead. He wanted to scream, to pull Jake back from that precipice again, but he couldn't. What would he even say? He could feel his brother's growing tension, the way his fingers tightened around the phone as if gripping a lifeline. "Is that a good idea?" Luke interjected, his anger bubbling over. "You just got out of the hospital. Maybe you should take a step back." Jake shot him a look, warning yet imploring. "Luke, listen. This is my job. It's what I've trained for." "Your job? Or your escape?" Luke shot back, not backing down. The wall they had just started to dismantle felt too fragile, too easy to break again. "Do you want to run away from this?" Jake's expression flickered between frustration and despair. "I'm not running. This is who I am. Captain Harris thinks I'm the right guy for this. Can't you see this is my chance to prove myself?" A heavy silence filled the room, punctuated only by Jake's quiet breathing. Luke felt the air grow thick as their childhood dreams collided with harsh adult realities. The warmth they had just rediscovered felt like it was slipping away again, just like that. Moments earlier they had been brothers in unity. Now they stood once more on the precipice of an old fight. "Maybe you need to define yourself differently," Luke murmured, struggling against the crushing urge to take control. "Maybe being a commander doesn't mean taking risks at every turn." "I need to be more than just the guy who couldn't handle it, Luke," Jake interrupted, his voice cracking, revealing the very fear that had hidden beneath the bravado all along. "Everyone expects me to be strong. If I don't take this opportunity, will I be considered weak?" The vulnerability in Jake's words struck Luke like a slap. It was true. The weight of expectation had loomed over both of them, shaping their choices, their identities. Luke felt a wave of compassion wash over him, drowning out the anger. "You're not weak for needing time, Jake. No one is." Jake lowered his head, the phone pressed against his ear. He was fighting something internal, a battle that had festered for years. The cracks in his armor began to show, the warrior facade wavered. As Captain Harris continued talking, Jake's gaze drifted to Luke, searching for something deeper than his brother's anger. A flicker of understanding crossed their faces, as if they both recognized the chasm that needed to be bridged. "Jake, whatever happens, you just need to know I'm here," Luke said, his voice steady despite the uncertainty surrounding them. "Even if it means we take different paths." The call ended, and Jake hung up, guilt flickering in his eyes. The emptiness left in the wake of that conversation felt heavy and uncertain. As they sat in silence, it became clear the choice had to be made. Was Jake ready to step into the unknown again? More importantly, could they find a way to support one another, no matter the choice? Luke felt a wave of grief and hope entwined. The journey they were embarking on had just begun, and all they had was each other. Would they dare to step into that light or retreat into the shadows they had always known? Jake finally broke the silence, his voice low. "What if I can't come back?" And with that, everything hung in the balance once more, as they faced the looming specter of the choices ahead. Jake ran a hand through his hair, his frustration apparent. "I don't know what I'm supposed to do anymore, Luke." The soft light of the late afternoon was fading through the window, and shadows crept across the room, turning familiarity into an unsettling haze. That weight, the weight of expectations, felt crushing. Luke crossed the room, placing a hand on Jake's shoulder. "You don't have to decide right now. Just think about it. What do you really want?" "I want to be who I was before everything happened," Jake admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. He looked away, fighting against the tidal wave of memories, the sounds of gunfire, the screams echoing in his mind. "But I'm scared that that person is gone forever." Luke squeezed his brother's shoulder tighter. "Nobody loses themselves entirely, Jake. You've just changed. That's okay. Finding yourself again, it takes time." The silence swelled around them, thick and fraying. Outside, a few kids laughed as they played, their carefree joy a stark contrast to the heaviness inside. Jake's gaze drifted toward the sounds, A world of innocence he felt he couldn't touch anymore. What if taking this mission is the only way to reclaim who I used to be? All I know is war. All I feel is this emptiness. Luke sighed, the weight of his brother's words settling deep within him. But at what cost, Jake? You can't just dive back into that abyss without thinking of the consequences. You matter. Your life matters. A surge of anger flared briefly in Jake's chest. I can't let fear control me. I've spent so long letting it dictate who I am. Maybe you should consider a different path, one that doesn't lead back to that place. The words spilled out in desperation, a plea for his brother's safety. Are you asking me to run away? Jake snapped. Because this isn't just some fear I've trained for this my whole life. I can't just walk away from it. Luke knew he had to tread lightly, but it felt like a battle no one could win. I'm asking you to choose life, brother. Choose us. Choose to be here, just as you are, even if that person feels lost now. Jake closed his eyes, holding his breath as emotions twisted in his gut like a knife. That alternative vision of life, one that didn't rely on danger, where he could forge a connection instead of running from pain, felt so foreign, but also so unbelievably inviting. I just don't know if I can be that person anymore, Jake admitted, the fight leaving his voice like air from a deflating balloon. What if I can't face that fear? You can face it, Luke reassured him, his conviction firm. Let us face it together. I'm not going anywhere. A small smile broke through Jake's turmoil, bittersweet and cautious. You really mean that? Always. Luke's gaze held a promise, a tangible thread of hope weaving their strength together. Yet beneath that surface, an unsettling thought gnawed at Luke. How many times had Jake stared down at the brink and come back? How many times would he risk it all just to prove something? The very essence of brotherhood felt at stake. As they settled into a quiet moment, the conversation lingering in the air thick with unspoken fears, the phone buzzed again. This time, it was a text from Captain Harris. Jake hesitated, a look of trepidation mixing with his newfound resolution. Do you think I should reply? He asked, eyeing Luke. Well, what do you feel? Luke mirrored Jake's earlier question, a small challenge resting in his tone, pushing Jake toward clarity. Jake's heart raced. What if answering means turning my back on everything I just admitted? But what if, just maybe, it was a step toward healing? Enough to find a way to rise above the shadows they both feared. With a deep breath, he reached for his phone, fingers hovering over the screen. Could this be a moment of truth for them, a chance to explore the possibilities that lay in the unknown? And so, as Jake began to type, the world outside shrunk down to just one question. Would he take that leap of faith? Jake's fingers trembled slightly as they hovered over the screen. He could feel the weight of the moment crashing over him. The text from Captain Harris blinked impatiently, begging for a response as if it held the key to his future. Luke leaned closer, the warmth of his brother's presence steadying him. Whatever you decide, I'm right here, okay? You don't have to carry this alone. Jake took a deep breath and forced his thumb to tap the screen. With one swift motion, the message sent, leaving a silent echo around the room. A mixture of dread and exhilaration coursed through him. What did you say? Luke asked, his curiosity barely concealed. Jake's heart raced as he scanned the screen. I told him I'm ready to talk. Luke's expression shifted, a flicker of concern and relief crossing his face. You're sure? I don't know, Jake admitted, his voice cracking. But I have to know what steps to take. I need to figure things out for myself. Just don't lose yourself again, okay? This mission, it changes people. We both know that. Yeah, I know. Jake swallowed hard, the realization of every weighty word pressing on him. But sitting here like this, feeling nothing, it's worse. Moments stretched between them like an eternity, marked only by the distant laughter of children, floating soft and far away. The room, filled with memories and shadows of past conversations, suddenly felt claustrophobic. Each second felt like a clock ticking down towards something inevitable. Just then, the phone buzzed again, a response back from Captain Harris. Jake's stomach dropped. "Open it," Luke urged, his eyes glued to Jake's hesitant fingers. "I'm not ready," Jake said, a wave of anxiety washing over him. What if this was it? What if everything changed again? He felt a bead of sweat trickle down his back. "Ready or not, you have to know," Luke replied, the gentle insistence in his tone drawing Jake out of his spiral. With reluctance, Jake tapped the notification. The message appeared before him, brief and heavy with implications. "Meet me tomorrow. 0900 hours. We'll discuss everything. You're not alone." Jake's heart pounded in his chest. There it was, the lifeline he was afraid to grasp. But buried deep within that lifeline was the risk of everything he feared. The unknown loomed like an open sea. "What are you thinking?" Luke asked, studying him closely. "I'm scared," Jake finally admitted, his voice barely a whisper. "Scared of what?" "Scared of stepping back into a world I thought I left behind. Scared of what it means to face old demons." Luke nodded slowly, understanding every layer of Jake's struggle. "What if this is the moment that helps you find peace? What if it leads you back to who you used to be, but stronger?" Jake contemplated his brother's words. For the first time, the notion of strength didn't only feel tied to war. Maybe, just maybe, strength could come from vulnerability. "I have to do it, don't I?" Jake asked, a spark of determination lighting his eyes. "Only if you want to," Luke replied, standing firm in his support. "But remember, if you go, I'll be right here. No matter what happens." The reassurance filled Jake with enough courage to look into the uncertain horizon. As shadows began to shift with the fading light outside, he felt a flicker of hope. But just as determination settled into his chest, a sudden thought gripped him. What if facing this mission meant not just confronting his past, but answering questions he wasn't sure he could handle? As he grappled with the decision, the heavy air around them lingered, waiting for an answer that could redefine their brotherhood and their lives. In that moment, Jake realized there was no turning back now. Tomorrow held challenges that could either chain him to the pain of the past or free him in ways he never imagined. And in the quiet pulse of that uncertain night, one question resonated louder than all the rest. What truths lay hidden in the memories he thought he had left behind? Morning light spilled into the small apartment, painting everything in hues of yellow and gold. Jake lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, his mind racing. The reality of what lay ahead hit him like a freight train. The meeting with Captain Harris was just hours away. Part of him wanted to crawl back under the covers and hide, but another part, stronger, more relentless, compelled him to face the day. Jake swung his legs over the edge of the bed and sat for a moment, wrestling with that mix of courage and uncertainty. He could hear Luke moving around in the kitchen, the soft clatter of dishes mingling with the sound of coffee brewing. The familiar routine provided a brief comfort as he took a deep breath, trying to summon some semblance of clarity. "Hey, sleepyhead," Luke called out, his voice carrying a lightness that contrasted sharply with Jake's heavy heart. "You ready for today?" "Not even a little," Jake admitted, forcing a smile as he walked into the kitchen. He poured himself a cup of coffee, letting the bitter warmth soothe the nerves buzzing in his stomach. Luke shrugged, unbothered by Jake's half-hearted response. "You know, I was thinking this could be your chance to take control, to find solid ground again." Jake looked into his brother's eyes, searching for the reassurance he needed. "What if it just opens up old wounds?" he asked, the words slipping out before he could stop them. "Maybe, but it could also help you heal," Luke said, his tone serious now. "Being honest about the past could be what you need to move forward." Jake raised an eyebrow skeptically, but deep down, he knew Luke was right. Every step forward, however shaky, was a step away from the darkness that had clouded his mind for so long. With a renewed sense of purpose, he grabbed a slice of toast and took a seat across from Luke. They shared a comfortable silence, a routine that reminded them of their childhood. Finally, Jake leaned back, the tension in his shoulders easing, if only slightly. "Thanks for staying," he said quietly, meeting Luke's gaze. "It means a lot." "Always," Luke replied, a confident grin returning to his face. "Now let us make a plan. What do you want to do when you meet Harris? Any specific questions?" Jake considered it. What would he ask? The first thought that came to mind felt dangerously overwhelming. What if I ask about the missions I was part of? The ones I can't remember? "That sounds like a good start," Luke encouraged. "Just remember, you don't have to know everything today. Take it one question at a time." Jake felt the weight of his brother's support lift him, but still his nerves swirled like a storm inside. Would confronting his past truly bring peace, or just drag him back to a place of hurt? After breakfast, they gathered their things. The air was thick with anticipation as they stepped out of the apartment. Jake paused at the door, glancing back. What if I can't handle this? What if it changes everything? Luke placed a steadying hand on his shoulder. "You can handle it. Just focus on being present. Whatever happens, we'll face it together." Jake swallowed hard, trying to be brave. "Yeah, together." They walked in companionable silence toward the meeting, the sun shining brightly overhead, a stark contrast to the turmoil brewing inside Jake. An unexpected thought flashed through his mind. What if Harris has answers that make me question everything about myself? Each step felt heavier than the last as they turned the corner. The building loomed ahead, a fortress of memories he wasn't sure he was ready to confront. As they approached the entrance, Jake's heart began to race. The question that hung in the air became inescapable. What if his journey to the truth led him to discover not just the shadows of his past, but also a version of himself he could hardly recognize? He took a deep breath as they paused outside the door. Would he find the answers he was seeking, or would he plunge deeper into uncertainty? The moment of truth was about to begin. The door loomed before Jake, the cold metal handle almost inviting yet menacing. It felt like the threshold between his old life and the fragments of a past he could hardly grasp. He exchanged another glance with Luke, whose reassuring presence felt like a lifeline. "Here we go," Jake murmured, nervous energy buzzing in his fingertips. With a firm grip on the handle, he pushed the door open. It creaked slightly, revealing a stark, minimalist room. The walls were bare, adorned only with a few official plaques and a large desk that dominated the space. Behind it sat Captain Harris, a figure both intimidating and familiar. The captain's sharp eyes flicked toward them, calculating but not unkind. "Jake," he said, standing up. "It's good to see you again." "Captain," Jake replied, forcing the words through a throat that felt tight. He stepped inside, feeling exposed, like a fish out of water. Harris motioned for them to sit. Jake sank into the chair, attempting to appear calm while his heart hammered in his chest. Luke settled next to him, providing a steady presence. "I know this is hard," Harris began, his voice steady but edged with an understanding Jake hadn't anticipated. "But facing the past is a crucial part of moving forward. What do you need to talk about?" Jake's throat tightened as he wrestled with the question swirling in his mind. The fog of memory felt thick, and he couldn't help but feel like a boy lost in a maze. "I don't even know what to ask," he admitted, gaze dropping to the polished surface of the desk. Harris leaned back, giving him space. "Sometimes it helps to start with what you remember. Can you tell me about any of the missions?" Each word felt like it pulled at a delicate thread woven deep within him. Memories flickered like stars, but many were out of reach, buried beneath layers of pain. I remember flashes. But most of it is gone. I don't even know why. The captain nodded. That's common with traumatic experiences. Your brain, in a way, tries to protect you. Jake felt a surge of emotion at those words, as if someone had finally validated the struggle that had shadowed him for years. I want to understand. I don't want to be haunted by what I can't remember. What if there is something worse than I think? Luke shifted in his seat, his presence grounding. You're not alone in this, he added softly, a reassuring reminder that Jake didn't have to bear this burden alone. Harris paused before continuing, his expression thoughtful. Sometimes facing the unknown is scarier than the truth itself. I can help you navigate through it. Jake felt the weight of those words, a flicker of hope igniting within. How? He asked, the question spilling from his lips. By peeling back the layers, Harris replied. But it's up to you to decide how deep you want to dive. Swallowing hard, Jake felt a swell of determination. If there were answers buried within him, he would find them. Maybe understanding wouldn't erase the pain, but it could offer him a chance to reclaim a piece of himself he thought was lost for good. As he exchanged glances with Luke, the possibility of some semblance of closure nudged at the corners of his heart. I'm ready, he said, surprising himself with the conviction in his voice. Let us start then, Harris said, leaning in closer. But before they could delve deeper, a sharp knock at the door interrupted, sending ripples of unease through the room. A stranger stepped in, the tension shifting as murmurs filled the air. Jake's stomach twisted into knots. What was happening now? Would this newcomer disrupt all he had hoped to uncover today? Or would it lead him down an entirely different path? The newcomer stepped inside, and Jake's heart raced as his eyes landed on a woman with a fierce gaze and a tight ponytail. She wore a military uniform that looked like it had seen its fair share of action. The air grew thick with tension, all focus shifted to her. Jake caught a glimpse of Captain Harris's expression. It shifted from measured calm to a hint of alarm, as he quickly stood taller. Emily, he said tightly, recognizing the urgency in his tone. What are you doing here? Captain, we need to talk. It's urgent. Her voice left no room for doubt. Jake glanced at Luke, confusion knitting his brow. This was supposed to be about his journey, about digging into the crevices of his past. Who was this woman interrupting everything? Harris nodded curtly, then looked back at Jake. I'm sorry, but I think we need to pause your session for a moment. This could impact everything we've been discussing. Jake's stomach sank. Impact what? He asked, disbelief creeping into his voice. I just got here. I need answers. Trust me, Jake, Harris said, placing a hand on the desk as if it grounded him. Emily wouldn't come here unless it was crucial. Emily's eyes were fixed on Harris, unreadable and serious. The mission we thought was contained it's gone wider than we anticipated. We need all hands on deck. Mission? What mission? Jake pressed, his frustration boiling over. I'm tired of walking on eggshells. If I'm going to face whatever is haunting me, I need to know what is really going on. The silence hung in the air, thick and suffocating. Harris exchanged a concerned look with Emily before turning back to Jake, his expression softening. We should probably tell him. If he remembers anything, it could change our approach. Jake, she said, finally giving him her full attention. About a month ago, we received intel regarding a group involved in operations linked to your last mission. They've resurfaced, and they might know something about your missing memories. The room buzzed with unspoken implications. The walls felt closer, the air charged with an intensity Jake hadn't anticipated. So you're saying my past isn't just a shadow I have to face? It could actually be out there? Someone knows. Emily nodded. We believe there could be individuals who witnessed what happened. They weren't just names on a report. They're living, breathing people. And they might hold the key to unlocking those memories you're desperate to reclaim. Jake's head spun at the thought. For so long, he felt alone, drowning in his silence. Now, there was a chance, however slim, that he wasn't just searching through the ashes of the past. There might be flames still burning. Do you want to pursue this? Harris asked, watching Jake closely. Jake glanced at Luke, who nodded in encouragement. The uncertainty danced in his gut, but alongside it, he felt a surge of hope. Yes, I want to find them. All right, Emily replied, a flicker of relief crossing her features. This isn't going to be easy. It could change everything for you. Jake took a deep breath, bracing himself for whatever lay ahead. Change sounds better than being haunted. As they began to strategize, Jake couldn't shake the feeling of being on the cusp of something monumental. Were the threads of his past finally unraveling, revealing a tapestry he had yet to see? Was he ready for what might come next? As he looked to the future, anticipation coursed through him. But another part of him wondered, could digging up these long-buried truths do more harm than good? With every answer he sought, how many more questions would arise? As Emily spread out the maps and documents on the table, Jake felt a mix of anticipation and dread. The room was smaller than he remembered, but the air was charged, alive with possibility. Emily had a sharp focus as she outlined the areas where the reports of this group had been traced. Her finger danced over the pages, moving with a sense of urgency that resonated deep within him. Okay, here's what we know, she began, her voice steady. This group goes by several names, but they all seem to revolve around one thing: cover-ups. Everything ties back to your last mission, Jake. The more we dig, the more unsettling it gets. Unsettling? Jake echoed, leaning forward. Is that a fancy way of saying dangerous? She looked him straight in the eye. This group doesn't just want to hide the truth, they want to erase it. And they won't hesitate to take anyone down who gets in their way. A chill coursed through Jake. He felt it deep in his bones, the sense that he might just be stepping into a trap. But that same thrill raced in his veins, igniting a fire he hadn't felt in a long time. What is the plan, then? He asked, forcing his mind to focus. Emily glanced at Harris, who nodded in return. We'll gather a small team. People we trust. We'll head to the last known location. But you have to promise no heroics. If things start to go sideways, we get out. No questions asked. Sounds easy enough, Jake said, but deep down, he felt the weight of the past pressing against him. What if I remember something? Something that could change everything? Then we'll take it step by step, Emily assured him. But Jake, you need to understand, these memories may not be what you hoped for. He clenched his fists. The idea of facing whatever ghosts lay within the recesses of his mind was terrifying, yet exhilarating. The room's atmosphere shifted again, charged with a new kind of urgency. Why do you care so much? Jake suddenly blurted, catching Emily off guard. You seem invested. She took a deep breath. Because I'd lost someone in that mission too. I was there, but I wasn't enough. We're in this together now. The vulnerability in her voice made Jake's heart race. This wasn't just about him. What do we know about who we're looking for? Jake asked, steering the conversation back to the mission. Emily began to speak, but a sudden knock at the door interrupted them. Everyone turned, tension tightening the air again. A junior officer poked her head in, her expression grave. Captain, we need you in the operations room. Something just came through the wire. Harris stood immediately. Let us wrap this up. We'll pick this back up soon. No, Jake said, his voice louder than intended. Please, I want to know now. The uneasy silence settled between them. Harris hesitated, then finally nodded. Meet us in the operations room. We'll fill you in. As they left, Jake's thoughts swirled. What new problem awaited? What would they uncover? As the door shut behind him, Jake felt the weight of something imminent. He was no longer just an observer trapped in his memories. He was a player in a game that could change the course of his life. Was he prepared to face whatever lay in front of him? A past intertwined with shadows, and now he was hoping to step toward the light. He suddenly realized something. Would the truth be liberating, or would it bind him deeper into the chaos? With another knock at the door of his past waiting to swing open, Jake took a breath, bracing himself for whatever awaited him next. What fate awaited him in the operations room, and who would emerge from the shadows of his memories? The operations room buzzed with an intensity that pulsated in Jake's chest. Screens illuminated the walls, casting glowing hues across the anxious faces of his team. The weight of expectations hung thick in the air like humidity before a storm. He felt every heartbeat thrum bravely against the silence as he and Luke stepped inside. Captain Harris stood by a large monitor, flipping through images and reports. The urgency in his eyes cut straight to Jake's core. He could feel Luke shift at his side, the faint echo of reassurance radiating from him. "What is it?" Jake asked, his voice steady despite the whirlwind inside. Harris turned. "New intel has come through," he began, gaze piercing. "It's more than we thought. We've got details linking your last mission to an organization tied to arms trafficking people who will stop at nothing to protect their secrets." He gestured for everyone to gather closer. Jake leaned in, the rapid beats of his heart syncing with the uncertainty in the room. The flickering images showed faces, maps, locations, so much history entwined in these fragments now coming back to haunt him. But why now? Jake pressed, feeling unnerved at the thought of being dragged back into darkness. What are they planning? Why resurface? Emily leaned over the table, her sharp features lined with determination. To regain control. There's a possibility they've realized you're digging for answers, looking for those involved. They might be trying to silence anyone who could expose the truth last. Luke's grip tightened on Jake's shoulder, grounding him as the implications washed over them. "If they've got their eyes on you, we need to act fast," Luke said, his voice firm with resolve. "Before they make a move." Harris nodded. "We mobilized tonight. A small team, with your intel and insight on board. We'll head to their last known location, find out who is pulling the strings." Jake's heart raced. He was at the precipice of regaining his life or diving deeper into chaos. "I'm in," he said, the words spilling from his lips before he could censor them. The room erupted into strategic discussions, maps spread out before them like battle plans. Each moment felt electric, igniting a fire within him that lay dormant for too long. This was his chance not just to reclaim his memories, but also to reclaim himself. But then a chill crept in. What if these memories uncovered painful truths he wasn't prepared to face? The weight of this realization draped over him like a shroud. As his team feverishly prepared, Jake stepped back for a moment, seeking Luke's calm presence. What if I find something I'm not ready for? What if I have to confront things that shouldn't come back? Vulnerability surged through him. "Then we handle it together," Luke reassured, his voice soft but strong. "You're not alone in this. You never were." That spark of brotherhood surged anew, jarring Jake back to the present. They were truly in this together. When the time came for them to move, adrenaline pulsed through Jake's veins with every step. They loaded up into armored vehicles tinged with the weight of the unknown. Lights flickered past as they drove into the night, a tangible tension enveloping the atmosphere. Jake exchanged glances with his brother, every look a silent promise that they would face the storm together. Finally, they arrived at the location, an abandoned warehouse, darkened and ominous. The tension was palpable as they disembarked, military precision punctuated with whispered uncertainty. Jake's heart hammered in sync with the group's movements, and with a determined breath, he stepped forward. Shadows lingered in the corners, each one whispering tales of the past he had buried deep. But he had come too far to turn back. The moment to confront the truth he feared was now. Was he ready for the flashbacks that tormented his dreams? As they entered the warehouse, a flicker of movement caught Jake's eye. Every instinct screamed alert. This wasn't just a location. It was a battleground for the truth. And when they stepped inside the main chamber, the faces that turned to greet them felt hauntingly familiar, morphing everything Jake feared into reality. There it was, the possibility of answers, the echoes of his forgotten past flooding back with every encounter. At that moment, he would reclaim what was lost. Together with Luke, he would face whatever lay ahead, allowing the light of truth to cut through the darkness. The journey was longer than they had imagined, but amidst all that uncertainty, one thing remained. They would rise together. In that sacred bond of brotherhood, with every step they took deeper into the shadows, they understood fully. Whatever lay ahead, they would carry those memories of pain, of strength, of rebirth together. And there, at the crossroads of their lives, two brothers began to redefine what it meant to conquer, to heal, and to rediscover the meaning of both love and courage, standing firm in the face of truth. Now it's your turn. Don't let this inspiring journey end here. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories that will leave you breathless. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, and let us spread the word together. Comment below how this journey has touched you, and share your thoughts, they matter. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. This is the moment to show your support like never before. Don't wait not even one more second to join our community. Only true fans understand the power of these actions. Let us fuel this movement together.